Seems Clive cannot catch a break on this day. Perhaps our brave gunmen of the Lady Johnson thought the day saved from the surprisingly tech-savvy bandit menace, but upon returning from their lunar escapades, ominous purple skies bid them a foreboding welcome. Vengeful bandit forces have descended upon Mayor Johnson's little town once more, headed by this monstrous new machination. Clive, Miss Johnson, and Chieftain Bob all give chase after the scurrying machine, ready to put an end to these assailants once and for all. Gunman Clive 2 sees the heroes globetrotting across diverse vistas, even faring the seas and skies alike in this cross-continental pursuit. Fans of the first Gunman Clive should find this follow-up plenty familiar. You're still running, gunning, jumping, ducking, and, well, ducking. But the sequel distinguishes itself from its predecessor in two key ways. First, the level design is much more dynamic and kinetic. While still an action platformer at heart, the action has been markedly accentuated. Both games start in the same desert town, but see how Clive 1's static environment contrasts Clive 2, in which the town ablaze crumbles before your eyes. The level design also takes some liberties in assuming you're already familiar with the conventional platforming tropes which were gradually introduced in the first game. Those mechanics reappear with haste, so the levels can move to introduce more trying and eccentric obstacles. The game gleefully tosses new surprises your way. These take the forms of both small moments and large set pieces. Riding up a coal shaft as your platform sways slightly under your weight, watching for ambushes in a traditional Japanese temple.
I'm on a boat.
Staring down a velociraptor in the jungle. Then walking atop a towering brontosaurus. Getting all topsy-turvy as the bandit's skybase plays with gravity in new ways. This pig is riding a water wheel like it's a hamster on an exercise regimen. Oh, I love this game. Gunman Clive 2's greatest asset is intangible, an energy pervasive from its first moments to its last, making it such a joy to play. The second key difference in Gunman Clive 2, the other side of its spectacle, is its larger swath of alternative playstyles. The returning minecart now throws anti-gravity into the mix for exhilarating new thrills. Twice you'll take to the skies in 3D shooter stages. The turning is weighty, but these are brisk, breezy joyrides. The same cannot be said of this panda segment in Stage 10. You're booking it through the forest as a huge spiked wheel advances from behind. It requires careful management of your speed. Sprint ahead recklessly and you've less time to anticipate oncoming hazards. But dally about too much and that wheel will catch up and do you in. The sequence certainly gives a rush in the moment, but that moment may fade when the trial and error settles in and grinds progression to a halt for a bit too long. The camera takes its sweet time centering you after it pans to reveal the wheel, even if you should outpace the thing well before. Then you have to anticipate these trees and jump parts of their lengths, else you waste precious seconds slowly climbing the trunk. Lastly, you just kind of have to know that this last jump is coming or you'll plummet to your death at the very end to start all over again. The difficulty spike is too sharp given the new rules and gameplay, and perhaps could have benefited from another pass at rebalancing the sequence. The last new gimmick is a horseback ride into the sunset, dueling bandits and avoiding hazards on the path. Not only does this reaffirm Gunman Clive's Wild West roots in an altogether eclectic, genre-hopping adventure, but it's an exhilarating jaunt in its own right. I do feel that, unlike the first game, Clive 2 lost a bit of its magic in the move off the 3DS. Notice how both the flight and horseback segments have you occupy a large amount of screen space at the foreground, as your ride speeds toward the horizon. These play better with proper depth perception, and dodging incoming obstacles proves dicier without the effect. This moving crank hazard in Stage 15 is also meant to make use of 3D, though admittedly it proves awkward to avoid no matter what platform you're playing on. You also lose some of the luster of the game's use of depth for impressive background layering, as with ruined buildings ablaze and their back walls glimpsed through the wreckage, or the parallax scroll of the jungle foliage. The sequel sees tremendous upgrades to its visuals regardless. You've surely noticed by now that while the distinctive art style is maintained, the uniform beige is traded for a wider color palette. Environments still teem with choice colors though, allowing every scene to impress as a thoughtful, deliberate palette.
Every goal leads to a new color level. Blue, green, orange. The fun cannot be halted.
I still stop myself at times just to admire the vibrant vista on display. The soundtrack adopts a sprightlier tone this go-around. While not entirely eschewing the melancholy present in its predecessor, here the music is spirited, accentuating the more energetic and fun adventure. The Cowboy is Back in Town transitions from a spin on the original game's modest opening track into a proud anthem for this more confident return to the saddle. The Eastern flair of Asian Cowboy contrasts its striking string instruments with the lighter flute melody. One of the boss themes, Klezmerize, brings an unexpected whimsical lilt to some of the game's most dangerous encounters. And my favorite, La Salsa Robotica, flits between a dramatic charge and a flamboyant dance. The tones and genres played within this soundtrack are so diverse, I had trouble whittling down the selections to highlight in this segment. Wonderful stuff throughout. The playable character roster is the same as before. Gunman Clive is just as reliable as ever, still the vanilla option among the bunch. Miss Johnson's float comes in handy more often, if only due to the greater challenge presented in this sequel. She is so silly. Outstanding neurodivergent rep, honestly. Why is she sitting like that? I am easily entertained. This is actually the game where Chieftain Bob debuted, his inclusion in the first game a retroactive edition for the HD collection. I don't know if this is sensitive representation, I am not qualified to speak on it, please feel free to enlighten me gently in the comments, I love you all. The level design and enemy placement accommodate Bob's limited range thanks in part to his faster movement speed. Boss encounters can be more troublesome. That is, if you can't just heedlessly spam spear hits to tear through their health without needing to worry about your own. When in flight or on horseback, Bob's limitations force more evasive actions than his gun-toting allies. The duck gets plenty of cute rides in its exodus. I couldn't resist the chance to throw these in as B-roll. But the waterfowl's migration starts to fall apart midway through with sequences like this ninja dogpile in stage 11, and especially this claustrophobic elevator in stage 15. Wait, you can just stay in the right corner and go unscathed? Wish I knew that sooner. While the characters are unchanged, the general physics and control have been tightened up. Movement is ever so slightly snappier, alleviating some of that cushy, floaty feel of jumping from the first game. I wish I had a strong topical way to transition into talking about the boss fights. The greater quantity of bosses is appreciably reinforced by their more complex behaviors, making for exciting encounters to cap off each area. There's that spider mech seen in the game's opening, Some of these bosses now have specific weak points, conveniently colored distinctly from the rest of their bodies. You'll have an easier time with the mechanical arachnid if you can hold on to that spread shot given to you beforehand. Regardless, the machine isn't packing any particularly threatening firepower. It always feels good to sneak under its legs while it charges its laser, getting several free shots from behind. Next, this dapper gent makes use of gravity flipping to spice up an otherwise tame fight. My favorite attack of his is when he sends a barrage of fire across the screen. You have to join him under his umbrella to take cover, a delightful little marriage of mechanics and humor. His last-ditch effort sees him bounce about in a little egg-shaped craft, but it's rather helpless against your attacks as long as you can dodge the predictable path of the thing. Atop the roof of a Japanese castle, you'll face off against a towering shogun. This one requires more stringent pattern recognition than the rest, with his attacks too quick to haphazardly respond to. I'm still regularly caught off guard when he fires these wave projectiles from his sword. Though I actually realized just as I was recording footage that you can anticipate the trajectory by the animation of his swing. This game continues to surprise. Now we've got a submarine encounter on restless waters. Except the craft is actually a whale. So long as you keep moving between the two barrels in response to its attacks, this should be little trouble. So what would that dinosaur-riddled jungle be without a battle with a big old T-Rex? The prehistoric powerhouse will barrel right through any platforms before it, so you've got to keep a lead on the creature and shoot for the head. Its weak spot, that gaping maw. This is a fun one. Well, unless you're playing as Chieftain Bob. The beast will hack skulls at you, kick rocks at you like a soccer ball, swipe its tail at you as if it's in a match of primal rage, all along the expected snap of its jaws as it tries to make a meal out of you. So, at long last, it's time to ground that craft you've pursued through the whole game. Doing so is none too taxing, but in response, the machine transforms into a nimbler mech. That missile volley always gave me trouble until I realized you don't actually have to duck under any of the barrage. Well, it still has the propensity to catch me off guard even so. Oh, she's beauty, she's grace. Destroy the mech, and the mastermind behind the bandit attacks reveals themselves. You. That cunning waterfowl hasn't given up the fight yet, but having already downed its big robot, what else could it have in store for Clive and company? Ah, a bigger robot, of course. This one's so towering you need to tear off segments of its metallic shell to scale to the top. This new mechanical titan can retaliate in several ways depending on how far you are in your ascent. The sense of scale, the machine's numerous moving parts, the dark violet skies, they all make for a truly dramatic climax. The robot's every movement shifts the platforms which comprise its body, requiring patience for the perfect opportunity to advance up the behemoth. Also, it can flatten you with its big boot, and I think that is pretty funny. Conquer the Colossus in its time, at last, for one final face-off. Oh, that's nice. The town is already in repair and our heroes can celebrate with a big cake. Don't you dare. Overt references to Mega Man are fewer here, with the developer deliberately seeking to produce a more distinct experience from Gunman Clive's roots as a literal generic Mega Man clone. Nonetheless, the nods are still there. The duck piloting its own little capsule, just like Dr. Wily. The bandits operating from a flying base akin to the Mad Doctor's fortresses. The T-Rex encounter reminding of the Mecha Dragon from Mega Man 2. but these accompany homages to more staples in the retro canon, such as Star Fox and the flight segments,
Pretty smooth flying, Fox.
and classic Sega arcade racers when horseback. Due to the more complex levels and bosses, and for its greater reliance on gimmick stages, Gunman Clive 2 is an altogether more difficult outing. Usually that's a fair challenge, the difficulty dialed up is expected for a continuation. But the difficulty can also spike because the game asks you to constantly adjust to new playstyles. Gunman Clive 2's identity as an action platformer is left uneven, splintered. Gone is the tight focus of the first game, traded for a more unpredictable and wild adventure. Your mileage may vary as to whether this is to the game's benefit. That said, I personally think Gunman Clive 2 is a thrilling return. Its flaws may be more readily apparent, but in the moment it matters little for the exciting energy the adventure maintains. It's a definite case of higher highs and lower lows, but I think the sequel's achievements allow it to surpass its already admirable predecessor. This is the kind of game I created the Copy Robot series for, a dazzling gem of a game worth highlighting in the hopes that more people might experience it and leave similarly captivated. Hi, it's Sophie Rose Taylor. Thank you for giving the video a watch. If you're interested, I write even more in-depth material about the games I cover here in Copy Robot, and you can read those articles on my website linked below in the description. All my utilized resources are documented in a Pastebin link also in the description. Another website update, I'll be posting another article soon with additional material related to Gunman Clive, including a closer look at the Project GMC prototype, Gunman Clive cameos and references in other games, and the history of both the Gunman Clive games and their developer. Please look forward to the future of Copy Robot. Thank you again, Free Palestine from the Israeli genocide, and do have a gentle day, everyone.